Hello boys and girls, time for an update, and this is the first time I'm using my shiny Canon EOS R with a new lens, Canon 24-105 RF IS-L f4. Totally swindled the system out of $300 US by going with a gray market model. But what's funny is that even if I wanted to buy this in Canada, where it's 1,400 Canadian plus 13% tax, they don't have it. Like, you go to henrys.com, which is the biggest local photography store chain, and it says, yeah, special order only. None of our warehouses stock this item. Our dealer has it, meaning Canon, but it might be 4 to 6 weeks waiting time. What? So US, everybody has this lens. Anyway, today's Wednesday. I feel ready to go. All the chores are done. And yeah, the stinger is on the trailer. Because my parking spot, as I mentioned 20 times before, my parking spot is too small to store the truck and the trailer together with the stinger. Either I have the stinger, which is fine, but then I have to separate the truck and find parking somewhere else, which I did not feel like doing. And so this time, during that night video, we separated the stinger, and actually, like, the four pins that hold the stinger to the trailer were not that difficult to work with, because I have the jack stand. You know, the spreader has its own jack stand, and you can play with that one, like going up or down, and one of the pins would go loose, so you take that one out. And then, you know, you just move your jack till you feel that the pin is moving. And so this way we were actually within 10 minutes maybe, me and this guy Tony, the mechanic who was unloading me, we were able to take out all the pins. And so now all that was left were the lines, the air lines and one electric line connecting the spreader to the trailer. And all the quick connects that I have there, they're quite new, right? Because when I was getting this trailer, JC replaced all the connectors because they were all rusted. And so all these connectors are 2 months old. And like there's a ring, right? There's a ring, so you have to very tiny space in there, but it's not because of the fault of JC trail, it's because of Fontaine. Fontaine gives you like this little pocket in there, so it's extremely difficult to put your fingers in there, and you have to find that ring, and you have to push it forward, and then you can unplug the longer, you know, the male piece, right? And so what happens is when they get rusted, that ring doesn't want to move, it doesn't want to rotate. And so basically you try to get it to rotate, and you use the, you know, the spray, you know, that the stuff that you can buy at any auto parts store. And I had that, and so like it took 5 minutes to disconnect the 3 connectors, and then one connected, like the biggest one, the one with an angle, probably took like 15 minutes, but finally we did it. And why I did that, because I was not sure what I'm doing with my next load, and because on the week before, one broker told me that they had a couple of light loads from Maryland, and they were 50,000 pounds, you know. And I was thinking about that one. I thought that I should separate the stinger in case I get these loads. I don't need the stinger, I don't need the Jeep, so I can just, you know, take the stinger off the deck and just drive with, you know, 4-axle truck, 3-axle trailer. But unfortunately that did not happen. Those loads disappeared, so the ship is probably not even in the port. And so Tuesday I started talking to brokers. Today I spent whole day at the behind the computer trying to find a load and talk to a few guys. There was some interesting loads, but there was one from Toronto going west. The permits were 50% of what the guy was willing to pay, which is unacceptable. And then there was a big and heavy load from Minnesota, and it's like 110,000 pounds. I want to do that because until now the biggest I did was 100,000 pounds, right? I want to try one of these 110, 115, 120, And so here's a load, 111,000 pounds. So of course I would have to go, a bunch of miles empty to northeast of Chicago to pick this up. And the guy liked my rate. I didn't see any big objections, but the problem was tarping, right? I don't want to tarp. It's especially in winter. It's still cold, right? It's too dangerous for one guy like me, because if my driver breaks a leg, that's the president breaking the leg, right? So basically 100% of my workforce will be out of commission. So I cannot have that. And so I do not tarp by choice, and I threw out all my tarps. I sold them. But this load, it was some kind of a factory machine. The guy insisted on tarping, and I said, hey, can you get somebody to shrink wrap this? And he says, yeah, we looked into that option, and actually the actual shrink wrapping is only $700. But he says the problem is the time. He says this would take at least 2 more hours for riggers to wait, because they cannot shrink wrap it inside the building. Riggers would have to take it out, shrink wrap it, and then load it on your trailer, which makes no sense, because I remember I had this load to California, and they loaded this piece on my that orange Kaufman trailer, and they shrink wrap it when it was sitting on the trailer, and then I drove to California. I had no issues with the shrink wrap, no tarping. But these guys are saying, oh well, so the riggers would have to wait 2 hours, and he says they charge us $500 US an hour, and so that would be $1,000 for the riggers and $700 for the shrink wrap. So they don't want to add $1,700 to the bill. I said, well, I wonder how you guys calculate that, but it's okay. You don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. And so, but that would have been an interesting load. And then there was another excavator, some big, I think it's John Deere, like 450, so 50 metric tons. So big, heavy, and going to the port in Maryland. But the rate they offered, it's just ridiculous. So I did a quote, sent them my quote, which was probably 2 times more, and I looked in the permits. I look at the permits, what the permits will cost, and the permits are like $3 grand just to go 500 miles, because you need a Jeep and Stinger, and you, like in my case, I'm 105 feet long, which is still better than 120 like some guys are. But so permits are expensive, right? So you have to factor that in. And so nothing. So basically I ended the day today just in frustration, and finally some guy sent me hey, I got a drill rig in West Virginia going to Kentucky, so 180 miles, $3,000. Can you do it? And it's like so annoying, like all these guys that I work with, right? They all know I'm Canadian. Why you keep offering me all these US to US loads, right? Because they don't care, Like for them, they think like American English is the only proper version of English, and it's all miles, and nobody cares about liters, it's all gallons. And so they keep sending me loads that I have to turn down. I said, hey, I don't do US to US unless I want to end up in prison, and pay 50 grand in fines. Why are you offering me this? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. But yeah, the rate was good, right? 180 miles. But even that, you know, let's say even if I'm American, right? But let's say I'm somewhere near, in terms of distance, I would say I'm somewhere near Des Moines, Iowa, right? And this guy is offering me a load. Oh, and he's responding to my email. I send them truck available, right? And I said, you know, I have this mail list. All the brokers I worked with before are on this mail list. They can always opt out, you know, unsubscribe. So it's all legal because they gave me permission to email them, right? So I entered all the brokers I work with on this list. And so I see that this guy, when he sends me this offer, I see attached is my previous email, which says RGN available. And over there in black and white, in English language, it says RGN available near Toronto, Canada. And so this guy responds by saying, hey, I got a load in West Virginia going to Kentucky. You have any trucks in the area? It's like, you know, you say, hey, I want to go for vacation to, you know, to Bahamas. And this guy says, hey, I know a guy in Brazil. Would you mind passing a package to that fella? Because you're going to be in Bahamas, right? And Brazil, that's not too far, right? So anyway, that's what we're dealing with. Poor load offers, low rates. Half of the loads, of course, require stretch RGN that I cannot do. Half of the loads were like 14 feet tall, sitting on the ground. Does not work. You need a beam trailer. So basically, a typical, you know, trucking job search situation where, like, one of my rules of heavy haul says you never have the right trailer and you're never in the right spot. And the last funny thing I'm gonna tell you today is that I've been a big hold on. One lady here might be interesting. Yeah, oh, it's the excavator, 105,000 pounds. I gave her a quote because I said, you know, permits, escorts will cost $3,000, you know. And so, of course, you have to pay more than $3,000. And she says, I explained all this CRAP to the customer, and he told me to add another $1,000. I can only do so much. I just added on the boards. Maybe he will come up at some point. Who knows? Very difficult to work with the overseas clients. Oh, wow, this lady is a director of operations at this company. So basically, see, the customer, it's not the broker in this case, it's the customer who does not understand the realities of heavy haul trucking in US and Canada. There's so many expenses, right? So truckers, you know, right, I cannot move a load for $3,000 if I have to pay $3,000 for escorts and permits, right? And plus I have fuel, I have to make some money to cover my bills, I have to make some profit. But anyway, so the funniest thing that happened today was that now I'm trying to use my new credit card, and it's a different system than the one I used before. And whenever I try to enter the number, it says invalid credit card number. And I'm using this credit card everywhere, you know, restaurants, fuel stations, buying diesel, gas stations, everything works, right? But as soon as I try to enter with this hotel reservation chain, it rejects it, right? And so I had to use my old credit card to book this nice hotel where we're recording this. And so I've been a big fan of Priceline.com, because sometimes you really can grab, you know, like a 4-star hotel at a 2-star hotel price. Like typical scenario is there's a big some kind of a sports event happening, and so all the rooms are booked, and then all of a sudden that event is canceled. Right now the hotel is left with all these rooms and no guests, and so they go to Priceline and they drop the price for their room by like 70%, you know, like seriously. And you can snap it, it's like the price, you know, changes all the time. But as I mentioned on many occasions, this Priceline, they always add lots of fees, where if you look close, like the fine print would say taxes and fees. And I'm okay with taxes, right? There's no escaping that. But the fees, they always add a fee. Like they're not enough for them just to resell the hotel. Like, why don't show me that fee, right? Just add 10-15 bucks, you know, just I don't want to see that fee, you know. But anyway, and so I try to call them, and this is what happens. This is what happens, and this is why.
Hi, thanks for calling Priceline. I see you have a hotel reservation for March 4th, 2020. Is this the trip that you're calling about?
No.
I've had multiple trips associated with this phone number. Please tell me the start date of the trip that you are calling about, such as May 23rd, 2020.
Customer service.
Please tell me the date of the trip that you are calling about.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, I could not understand. Let me get someone who can help. One moment while I transfer you to a member of our care team. Calls may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes.
No, but actually this is something new. But I tried this before, and I got stuck in this loop, you know, where it says, basically it gives you only two choices. Either tell us if you're calling about this number that I booked the hotel with, right? Are you calling about the trips associated with your phone number? And no, because I'm trying to report this issue, and I tried to talk to them before, like, you take this card. They say, yeah, we take these cards. But I say, why I cannot use it? Oh, well, I don't know, you should be able to use it. And so whenever I try to call the customer service, I'm in this loop, you know, where it says, you hear how she said, I'm going to get you to somebody to help. And now actually the music started playing, so it looks like I would be, if I stayed on the line, I would have been able eventually to talk to a human being. But before, it would say, and that's what I wanted to show you guys, but now you see it does not do it. You know, it would say, okay, you want to use your phone number or trip number? And I kept silent, and it says, okay, let me transfer you to somebody who can help. And I'm silent. And as soon as it says that, it goes back to the same question. You know, would you like the trip? Would you like to use the trip number or the phone number? And then it says, I cannot help you. Let me let me transfer you to somebody who can help you. And it would go on like that for 10 minutes. It was so hilarious. And I thought I would play it for you guys. But you see, now it's trying to actually switch me to a human being. So there's still some hope with Priceline, but I don't want to use them again, so I cannot recommend them again because they have lots of glitches. So guys, if you want to book a hotel, you know, like that's what I'm using now. I'm using hotels.com. I'm going to be using booking.com, expedia.com, and wyndhamrewards.com. So that's it. That's my update from Wednesday, March 4th from Cambridge, Ontario. Thanks for watching. Be safe and don't touch that remote.